So I want to tell the story about Dpss over here in Los Angeles, California. That's called the Department of Social Services. Now, I've never done anything wrong, so I'm not there because of any, corrective reasons. I'm just there because I'm an artist who's, doesn't have a steady income. So, and I hope you like my 5 o'clock shadow, and before you criticize it, at least you know I have one. Anyway, so there I was. So what happened is that I ended up, the city requested that I move from where I was staying before, which was a very respectable landlady, very respectable, well, in a way, maybe. And she went to church every day, not just every Sunday, every day. Very respectable, I guess. And we ended up being, asked to leave there, and we were given a stipend to leave by, it was mandated by the city and paid by the landlord, except that she couldn't pay it and someone else paid it for her because they loved her. And so we had to move, and that meant that our rent increased by like 3 times. Or my rent, anyway. Or actually, our rent. And so anyway, so this was sort of like a catastrophe because, the rent had been really low before and had been paid by my mother. And I had gotten food stamps, which is how I paid for my food. And getting food stamps was easy as pie. I remember I went in there, I applied, and then when I came out, there was a Latina girl, and she was, talking about Obama phones. This is where I first learned about Obama phones, and I was able to get a free phone. And, or it was near where I first learned. And she said to me, "So you have CalFresh? You have your CalFresh card? Isn't it a relief? Boy, I mean, our whole family has one." And, they all used one. I'm not trying to say they were doing anything illegal, but obviously it was just very prevalent and vital. And that was, when I got my CalFresh card, and I didn't get it on my own. There was another starving artist who was twice my age, who had come from New York, who had HIV, and he was dying. And I was talking to him one day, and he face palm, and he said, "David, there are all these services you could be taking advantage of. You could be getting free Medicare, you could be getting free, phones, you could be getting free, food stamps." I said, "Well, yeah, but, I'm wrong, And he says, "No, you're an artist, you're in need, go there and get something for yourself." So I did. And so I went there, and then I remembered once, the landlady at this place found out that I was getting EBT, she told me that more or less in a way that she thought I was a sellout for, sucking from the teat of the system. Instead of, "Why are you doing that? No one else in this." And so anyway, so that was like, whatever. And then that was cool, except that my social worker was changed like 3 times. And I just love saying my social worker, it just makes you feel weird, saying that because, I'm a very cross your letters and dot your I's kind of person most of the time, and it was just weird. So anyway, and the last one I got, and of course this one never changed. All the ones that did fine, they always disappeared, but the one that actually seems to have some sort of an axe to grind stays with you forever for some reason. And, at first she told me that I mailed her something and she didn't get it by the deadline. I said, "No, I mailed it to you." And instead of just saying, "Well, you need to mail it again," or something, she said, "You need to do it on time or it's not going to work." And her tone and her attitude so irritated me that without thinking about it, I said, "I mailed it." And that was the beginning of the end of that relationship, you see. And, and so I had to mail it again. And then, I called to try to confirm that she got them because it was vital or I wasn't going to get them. And, and then this went back and forth. Then I couldn't reach her because, they have it set up that you can't call them, basically. And, you can leave like a message maybe or something. It never worked. And this went back and forth several times. And then finally, like just when you thought all was lost, she gives this call and leaves a message on my, phone. It just says, "Oh, I got it. I got 2 of them. Thanks. Bye." But that didn't seem to make her like me anymore or trust me anymore. So then the next time it comes time to renew food stamps, or CalFresh or EBT or whatever you want to call it, food. When it comes time to renew food again, I get a notice from, an official notice from Dpss saying that my social worker, the same one, is going to call me at this time, 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And I need to conduct an interview with her, which is routine, but it needs to be conducted, or the program. I don't qualify for renewal. So I made all sorts of arrangements, to be right there at 2, and I'm in the shower at 8 a.m. that morning when she calls me, and of course I'm not there because I'm in the shower. And so then she just, hangs, says, "Hi, this is your social worker. You missed your call-in appointment. Goodbye." Hang up. So then I have to go and I have to call through and do all these hoops again, to try to get in there and try to figure this out. And they're saying, "Oh, what are you missed in your call-in appointment?" I said, "No, she didn't call at the right time." "She didn't?" "Huh. Well, she says you missed it." I said, "But I didn't miss it. She didn't call at the right time." "Well, then you're going to have to come in and see her." So then, I have to go in. I have to wait in the whole line. I have to wait in the whole place, And then finally she comes out, this is at 8:30 in the morning, of course. And, comes out, and she's this squat little woman who wears dark sunglasses in this tiny fluorescent lit room at all times. So you never can see her face. She never says anything. She always looks like this, and she speaks in monosyllables. So, I'm there and I'm saying, "Hi, I'm here for my CalFresh appointment, to renew CalFresh." And so I give her all my information again, which is always different for each year for what they want. And then I take out the envelope with my appointment and I hand it to her and I said, "See, this is what I got." It said that I was to expect your call at 2 p.m. She looks at it, doesn't say a word. It says, "You're renewed," and that's it. Not a word, stones. So, I left there, and that's when Spirit tells me that, "David, you need to try to change your social worker because next year I don't want to be sitting across from her again." So anyway, I decided, I kept thinking to do it, but then all sorts of other shit happened, and I wasn't able to do it immediately. So now we're back to having moved again, and here I am, with 3 times the rent. And, there's no way I could possibly pay the rent. And so basically, my mother and I decided that maybe we should move in together, right? Because she gets a fixed, Social Security thing of like, $1,200. And, she could just, we'll live together and we'll combine food stamps, and do all sorts of stuff. And that way, like, we'll survive. And so then I said, well, of course, if we're going to do that, we'll need to go to social services and we'll just tell them everything, that's changed, why it's changed, and how it's changed. And we'll get it all straightened out and be completely legit and everything. It sounded like a great plan. So anyway, then I call, my social workers DPSS to update my address because my address has changed because I've moved, And, I call them and I speak to this person. I say, "Hi, my address has changed." He says, "Okay, do you have anything else to report? Has your income changed? Has your rent changed? Is anything?" I say, "Yes, actually, it has changed. My rent has gone up to 3 times. And she says, "Oh my God, what are you going to do?" I said, "Well, that's part of why I'm calling you guys." I think I'm moving in with, and I explained the whole proposition. I said, "But I wanted to know, is it possible to request a change of social worker?" And it's this long pause. "Yes." "Okay, well, is that the proper thing to do?" "Sure." "I'd like to do that." "Okay." Okay, so how long does that take?" 2 weeks. Okay, then I'll call back in 2 weeks and I'll try to get this all straightened out. Goodbye. So, all right, that's what I did. And then, like, the next day after making this call, I get a call from my social worker, the evil one. And, and she sounds like she's gloating. I don't know how to explain it, okay? This doesn't sound like a call from your sympathetic social worker, okay? This sounds like a call from Satan, all right? And she says, "Oh, I have your report. Came to me yesterday and we report that your rent's gone up 3 times. So report, what changes of income do you have?" I said, "My income hasn't changed." "Oh, so then I guess we're going to have to file some new things because this sounds very strange and I need some paperwork to back it up." I said, "Oh, well, you see, actually, I don't want to come in and give you that paperwork because I just requested a change of social worker from the, general desk of social workers over at the hotline." "You need to come in." I said, "Well, can I come in like a couple weeks?" "Well, sure, you can come in whenever you want." "Okay, well, then I guess I will because I've requested a transfer and I'm not sure if I should be speaking to you because it might all be for naught because I've asked for another social worker." And that's when I think she got what I was saying. And there was this stunned, hurt, shocked, calamitous silence, wounded silence, feminine hurt silence on the other end of the line, and to which I was just shocked beyond all belief because I could not imagine what was provoking all this emotion from someone who clearly either hated my guts or could give a fuck about the job. And I'm just shocked, okay? It's like, God damn, she's gloating over my poverty and now she's hurt that I've asked for another social worker. And this is one of those moments where like the birds are like flying around your head because now you feel against like you never imagined this, but apparently you've actually really hurt someone's feelings, and yet they're also like apparently they're just a total jerk. And you never thought it would matter to them because they were a total jerk, okay? So you're just shocked. And I was like, it's just fine, hangs up. So 2 weeks go by. And I call in again. I said, "Hi, I wanted to know who my new social worker is." Says, "Oh, it's the same one." I said, "Well, I requested a transfer." "Well, transfers are just sort of like, you can request a transfer, doesn't mean it's going to happen." "Oh." I say, "Well, I don't, I've been having trouble with this. I haven't been able to establish a real rapport with this social worker. It's been 2 years. I feel like I haven't established any trust. I mean, she wears dark glasses. She doesn't speak in anything but like short, terse sentences. I don't feel like we've really developed a relationship that's creating value, And she says, "Well, I'm afraid, like, just because you want an effective social worker doesn't mean you're going to get one." I'm not lying. That's what she said, okay? She says, "But I mean, you have a social worker right now, but there's such an overload of cases to social workers that, what that means is that if we transfer your case, we're probably transferring it to someone who's even less effective than who you have now." And I was like thinking, effective versus evil. Effective versus evil. Which is better? But anyway, so I said, "Well," and I went on to explain, "Well, you see, she doesn't following the instructions," because I go to explain about the letter, I go to explain about the scheduled call interview, and I said, "And then she also did X," in which she just hung up on me after I was trying to report my need, even and didn't tell me any of this about transferring of social workers. And there's this long pause on the other end of the line, speaking into the darkness as usual. She says, "The quickest way may be to file a complaint." So now it's the next day, and my mother and I get up bright and early at 5 in the morning, head on down to Dpss to darken their doors at promptly 8:30 a.m. And we wander into where their, first router or triage person is, as it were, and we tell them hi. And, my mom's even more dramatic, I would just sort of say, "Hi, this is their situation," but she's like, she does "Oh, we're dying, we need help," which is always so gratifying. So anyway, that's where we are. And so then they get all in a panic and a tizzy. And so they separate us off into 2 separate groups, okay? Because they can't even figure out we're from the same family, even though our last names are the same. We came in together and identified each other as mother and son. And, so then they set me with this woman who's there for general relief. Now, I never applied for general relief before. I didn't know anything about general relief. So this is this Pakistani Indian woman who's not even a real social worker. She's an intake worker, who is one of those types of young women who completely believe in everything that any rule ever spelled out to do and believes that it's sacred and it couldn't possibly be wrong. And, she's sitting there and she starts saying, so we'll apply for general relief and we'll do all this. And she hands me a piece of paper and I fill it out. She hands me another piece of paper and fills it out. And then I read it. So general relief is $221 a month, because that doesn't, living in Los Angeles, I hate to break it to you, that's not a lot of relief. I mean, that's like $20 more than I get in food stamps, all right? And so I wouldn't even have paid my rent for the place I'd been living in, and it was condemned, all right? And, and she says, yes, that's what it is, sir. And then she hands me another piece of paper that says this is a mandatory work program. I said, mandatory? What does mandatory mean? It says, well, you'll be briefed on that in your orientation, sir. I said, listen, I'm an artist. I'm not, I may need relief, but I would feel sort of strange taking like a mandatory program, because if I wanted to do a mandatory program, I could just work, huh? And that prompts the weirdest look I've ever seen. I didn't even know, you get that kind of a look, and I said, well, you see, I'm just asking, is this program appropriate for me? Because I know from the outset that I'm not going to be doing something that anything says is mandatory. See, it sort of goes against the grain with my character. And, she says, sir, I'm not in a position to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. I said, well, are you in a position to tell me what the program is going to require of me? No, sir, you go to your orientation to do that. Okay. So if I decide not to do this program and I just decide to just throw it up, say no, at any point in the process, is that going to have some kind of a penalty for me, or is that going to put anyone out? I don't. No, sir. No, you can opt out at any time. I said, great. So I sign in and whatever. So then I leave there, and it turns out I have to do 3 things, okay, to even begin to get in the door for GR, okay? First, I have to go to an orientation where they orient me and get a stamp saying that I was at this orientation. Then I have to go to unemployment and register with the unemployment agency. Then I have to apply for unemployment. And this is very straightforward, except for the fact that I've never worked in my life. I mean, I've done lots of part-time jobs and campus jobs and freelance jobs, but I've never actually had a steady job where I got paid, unemployment benefits, health benefits, or even a regular salary of any form whatsoever at all. And I'm proud of that in a way, even though it wasn't strictly something I set out to do. So you see, I don't exist in the unemployment organization. And so I told her, I've never worked a day in my life. That doesn't matter, sir. The forms, So I said, okay, I fill out the forms and notice discover I don't have anything, right? No biggie. Meanwhile, another social worker comes in, and who the one who was working with my mother, and says, you two are with the same family? I said, yeah. Well, you guys are up Schitt's Creek, though not in quite those words. I said, yeah. Said, and you want to transfer your social worker? I mean, she's already been blatantly incompetent, because you could have just called in and relayed this information, and you didn't have to come in here and wait in line and do all this. I said, well, we're just trying to get things straightened out, and thought it'd be best if we did that in person. And she wanders out in a daze talking to the supervisor to get what's best for us. She says, well, maybe we can get $100 off your limited income that your mother gets, because she pays that for Medicare, and if she's in such dire needs, I think we can get that waived. Oh, that'd be great. And we'll get you together on food stamps, and maybe that will mean that you guys can have more, food to eat. Oh, that'd be even better, Wanders out. And so anyway, so now we're back to the GR, and the woman says, oh, by the way, I'll sign you up for 2 or 3 other programs too. Well, I don't know if I want to be signed up. What do those programs do? I'm not really sure, but they're usually recommended for, GR. I said, well, I don't want to just be signing up for all this stuff that I don't even know what it does. Oh, don't worry, it's just, you want, you get all the help you can possibly get, sir. This is an emergency. So then we wander out of there. And 2 or 3 days go by, and then I get a call from social services, which I answer. Hi. And it's from someone I've never heard of before, whose name I didn't know. And he says, hi, I'm calling about your case. And he gives me the right case number. I said, oh, hi. He says, so, David, we're just calling to actually confirm that you want your mother added to your case? And it sounds like a question rather than just like, a statement. I said, well, yeah. Are you sure? And now, like, alarm bells are going off, but you're like thinking, okay, why am I getting this? Guys, like, they think it's a fraud thing going on or something. I mean, and I'm trying to think why, but on the other hand, it's the truth, right? And I don't want to tell them something that's not true, right? Because the whole idea is we're all honorable people, right? So I'm not going to lie to them. So I said, well, yes, she is living with me. We are now same household at the same address, sharing everything. So I guess you have to add her to my case because according to the rules you told me all for 3 years I've been working with you guys, that would just have to be a necessity, right? And again, we have the pause. Okay, and it's like, well, of course. So you want us to add her to her case, your case, right? I said, yes. Okay. Click. They're going like, all right. So then, like, 3 or 4 days later, we get another notice saying, by the way, at first it confirms that our social worker is still the same evil social worker, hasn't changed. And it confirms that now we're getting less food stamps by around about $10 because we now have there's now a higher income. See, it doesn't matter that our rent is basically equal to our income. So now because there's any income, we get less food stamps. And we were penalized because apparently they extruded that last month, since, we came in the middle of the month, not at the beginning, we were docked, and now we're penalized $10 that we have to pay them, which will be deducted from our next set of food stamps. So now we'll have $20 less, at least for 1 month. Yeah. So anyway, that's after all, rules are rules. And so then, I go to my orientation for GR, which I talked about a little bit in another one, okay? And you go into this room that's basically styled like a kindergartner's playroom, okay? I'm not kidding you. They're desks and chairs, but they're little, little animals and little butterflies and you can do it and, all on the wall, and everyone there looks tired and worn out and old, and they're all basically black. I'm the only white person in there. And they talk about, and this is a place where they talk about having a rap sheet like it's your driver's license, okay? And, and I sit and I watch the whole orientation and I listen to the woman. And then and they talk about how you have to do all these mandatory things. You see, you have to spend a mandatory 3 days looking for another job. You have to spend, time with your caseworker. We're going to work out a plan just for you. You have to follow to the caseworker's satisfaction to prove that you're looking for a job so you can get your $221 a month, which they act like it's sheer gold, okay? And but there are lots of programs you can enroll in for free. Like you become a security guard, that's easy, free. That they have a very successful job placement. And then here you get like a message, I was thinking, well, maybe I could do that. And Spirit says, David, you're not going to be a security guard. I said, well, why not? You just stand there watching the paint rust. Maybe you get to shoot someone one day. And she says, no, David, if you became a security guard, you're the only person who's going to get shot is you. She says, I know gang bangers who would drive 3 miles to shoot you if you were a security guard. I mean, it's just like, why don't you just hang a shoot me sign on your chest? Shoot me! Okay, just plus you're this ardent rebel, you're one of my, vanguard artists, and the last thing I want you is safeguarding the establishment for the man. I said, oh, so that's crossed off security guard. And, so now I'm sitting there and I'm watching. So then I get up and I talk to him because she's there for questions. And I go right up to her and I say, hi, I'm an artist. And not only does my artistry consume my time and my passions, but in order to even have a hope, and this, of course, she didn't know I wasn't trying to succeed in the business or the industry because that's like a whole other rant, but so if I try to succeed in the industry, it demands all my time. I have to be there on lickety-split, they could ask for me to do all sorts of things for free for long periods of time just to try to build a portfolio or get to be known in the area. And all that happens for absolutely no money for a very long time until things work out. And so it's like I am working and it will pay off, but for the time being, I just need some help. And so she looks me right in the eye and says, sir, if you have a deficit, you need to work until that deficit is alleviated. And that's why I said, well, I'm not an economic unit. I mean, I'm an artist. Well, that may be. Like she nodding, like I'm sure you like to think of yourself as anything you want, but the reality is that, if you're coming up short, you're just going to have to work to pay that off. So then I left there. Now, I want to say I was sort of in turmoil because, you see, I sort of felt like that was fascism, okay? I mean, I know that everyone else thinks that's just earned, but, the truth is that if, you're like a, what did Phil Oakes say, what is it? Let's see, a singer who came upon the stage. Let's see. A ghost without a name stands ragged in the rain, and it seems like there are no more songs. And that's what I mean. It's like if you're an unsuccessful artist, you're just a ghost without a name, ragged in the rain. And, it's like, and everyone is completely justified at that view, because how dare you, But anyway, I won't go to get into that. So then I left there, like, feeling like, like crap. And so then, like, okay, I said, well, when I set out to do something, I like to finish it. I'm just like that, I like to finish what I start. And so I started this, and I thought, okay, well, maybe the first month of GR I can get it, then I can just quit or something. Or maybe they'll actually have a caseworker who will understand me or something, and it will work or something. So then I go down to the unemployment office. And I go there, and I go into the entrance, and she says, hi, just go into door number 1. So then I turn around, I go around the steps, and I go to a door, it says number 1. So I go into the door, and this woman turns around and says, sir, you've come into, employee entrance, please go outside and turn around. Like, you have, you're a 5-year-old with an IQ of -2. So as she's turning me around, I turn, I point to the number 1. I said, isn't that number 1? She looks up, and it's like she has never seen that number 1 there before in her life. And he's just like, oh, there is a number 1 there. I'm sorry, sir. I never noticed that before. So then you go to the next door, which has a number 1 on it. And to be fair, this did have a couple footsteps in front of it. Like, on the ground, like, the little stickered footsteps, bonk, bonk. And apparently I had gone right instead of left when I left the stairs. And I was supposed to, I don't know why, but apparently every other human being in existence had always turned left and never turned right. And I discovered something new that no one had ever seen before. Just going near to unemployment, imagine. So, anyway, so there I'm there, and I go inside, and I go in there, and I say, hi, I'm here to register for unemployment. And again, Okay, well, please enter your social security number in this pad. Okay, are you ready? Yes, sir. Boop, 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 boop. That didn't work, sir. I'm sorry. Can you do that again? Boop, 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 boop. Oh, wait, that didn't work either. I'm sure. What is that? Click, click. Oh, okay. Can you enter that again? Boop, 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 boop. That took, sir. Thank you. Now, will you please go and just sit over there and do... sit down and go to their computer. Then you press a little button and make it turn on, and it doesn't turn on. So then you spend 5 minutes finding its power switch and powering it all up. It takes 10 minutes to boot, and then it takes 5 minutes to launch Safari. By that point, I have my phone out, and I'm filling out the application on the phone, and I finish it by the time Safari loads. Or it wasn't Safari, I'm sorry, it's Internet Explorer. I'm saying, it's PC. And so then I go back and say, am I registered now? Yes, you are, sir. Now you can just, register for unemployment. And so then I'm sitting down and I'm trying to figure out how to do that. And, my mother comes up to me because she was there trying to register for something else, and which was about as much success, I think. And then she says to me, how do you think they're doing? I said, pathetic. And then everyone got all antsy around the whole room and all mad, truth. So anyway, then I leave there. Now I'm home trying to fill out the, the unemployment, application form. And you're going to love this, guys. I can't fill it out because I've never worked before. And I can't fill it out because they demand proof of selective service, and the selective service never sent me a registration to, for the draft. Because I was homeschooled through high school, so I never got one, and I'm one of the only people in the United States who never did. And now that was a problem. Again, that was a whole hurdle I had to get through for financial aid. And now it's like I'm back there again. I'm back here in this community college campus trying to register for unemployment for jobs I never worked. And I'm being treated like I'm back before zero. I mean, I have a college education, spent 8 years, working as a photographer, all this artistic work. And now it's like, I'm now even, like, I don't even have a high school diploma now, much less, 3 other degrees. So it's just like, damn, man, boy, they say artists don't make sacrifices, right? So anyway, it's like, okay, so now they're asking, like, can you give me the phone number of your last employer? Well, the only employer I ever had was like the head of of PR at the college I worked at, okay? And I don't really feel like giving her a number. And it wasn't really a job exactly. Or I could say I worked for the Orange County Register, which I definitely did for years, but that whole department's been shut down. So I don't have anything to give them. And I can't click next on the form because I don't have anything to give them. They don't have an option for never employed. I mean, I would have been just click that, never employed. But there's no option for never employed, so you can't fill out the form. It's just impossible. Sorry, red, you need to imply place of employment. You need to imply, well, I can't, you see. That was that. So now, let me explain something to you. You're going to probably find this really strange because I know that bunnies don't understand these things because bunnies always think rules are good. That's why they're bunnies. You see, if they thought that the rules were bad, they would have to have a certain kind of a self-awareness that require a certain amount of a stance against the world, okay? That being bunnies, they couldn't have. So bunnies always think the rules are good. They always think the rules are made with a good heart. They always think that there can never be a situation that the rules don't apply to, even though they acknowledge that new rules are made all the time. You see, that's the way bunnies are. So, anyway, here I am, and I'm just sitting around, and I'm becoming increasingly depressed. I'm becoming increasingly angry, and I'm beginning to feel like I'm making a mockery of myself trying to do what, I thought was, hey, this is my situation, what can I do? And now I'm being treated like a criminal or something, okay? And, I thought to myself, I don't know how to explain, but every day I was having trouble sleeping. I was getting more and more upset. And it was like there was a psychic barrier, like psychic dissonance of some kind. It's just like, And so finally, I woke my mother up in the middle of the night, and I said, I'm not going back to this GR place. I was going to go back. I was going to explain to her that I couldn't fill out the form and watch all hell break loose. But, I said, I don't want their GR. I don't want to go in for it. I don't want their $221 even if I could get it for free. I don't want to work with their caseworker. I don't want to be in that environment. And she said, I think you're right. So I just dropped the application. I said, screw it. And I can't tell you how much better I felt after that, even though right now I'm sitting here with my dick in my hands most of the time now. And, I just feel, the best part was I got this, text that just said, a couple of days later, you failed to comply with a GR requirement. Your service has been terminated.